Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Girls Gotta Talk podcast. I think, if I'm being honest, this is the only episode I've actually, had to fully, push myself to sit and record. I didn't do it yesterday like I wanted to because, which, at this point I probably could have. I wanted to have my laptop to have, the notes I had for this episode right in front of me, but I didn't bring my laptop with me yesterday, and I didn't want to be looking up everything on my phone because I'm also recording into my phone, if that makes sense. But here we are. I literally can't get my laptop to load. I tried connecting to my hotspot on my phone, but for some reason my laptop just doesn't want to stay connected. So I'll probably be looking at the notes on my phone, which at that point I could have just recorded this yesterday, but it is what it is. Here we are. I also was not feeling any, work today. I just got out of work, and now I'm sitting recording this while I don't want to say waste time, but, waste some time before I go and get JJ. And, I just have the worst cramps. If I'm being completely honest, I want to go home, I want to shower, I want to lay in bed, maybe grab a heating pad, I don't know. I just don't want to be doing this at the moment, if I'm being honest, but we're pushing through. We gotta do what we gotta do. If you're listening to this, the day it comes out, I'm going to a Yankee game today, and I'm super freaking excited. So when I'm recording this, I'm going to a Yankee game tomorrow night, and I wanted to have this episode up tomorrow, Wednesday morning, because I did not have it done over the weekend for, a Monday upload. So I want to have this up tomorrow, which is another reason why I'm I really want to record this and have it for you guys. I don't want to be, missing a week, so I do want to get this done. Was today the day I really want to do it? Not really, but like I said, we're pushing through, we're doing what we got to do. But I also wanted to have this done and ready for when I go to the game. I don't want to come home and have to do it, the following night or something. So, here we are, sitting in another parking lot. Yeah, my laptop just does not want to cooperate with me right now, so that's kind of upsetting. But here we are, recording this one. I'm getting ahead of the game for this episode because I know I did something like this for summer, and it was the end of summer, this is what you should do while summer, before summer ends type situation. And now I'm doing this in the beginning of fall just so we can be ahead of the game. We can start fall off on a good note. From when I'm recording this, the first day of fall by actual calendar date was 2 days ago. So technically we're in the fall era right now. We're actually in the fall season. And I personally think that's so exciting. The weather here, if you don't know, I know I've said it a million times, but if you're new, I live in Connecticut, so we do experience all 4 seasons for the most part. Sometimes it's a hit or miss on spring, but we get a little bit of fall. Sometimes winter just approaches way quicker than it probably should, but we do get a fall season. The leaves aren't fully changed. There are some yellowish, reddish leaves out there right now, but they haven't fully changed over. But the weather has only been a high of 70 degrees, which I think is honestly perfect. And it's been cold at night. Even in the mornings when I'm getting ready and leaving for work, which granted I could leave for work anywhere between 8 and 9:30. I think today I left a little after 8:30. So I'd say anywhere between 8:30 and 9:30. And when I went outside, it was kind of cold. I actually wore a sweatshirt this morning, and that just tells me that it's fall. Fall is here. Because recently I did not have to wear a sweatshirt. It might have been a little crisp chill in the air, but no, this morning I was I need a sweatshirt. I'm freezing. So here we are. I have another like movie list for the fall. Granted, I did watch a couple episodes of Gilmore Girls the other day, so that show is just the show that's going to be on lately because that just gives all the fall vibes and energy. I just like tried to combine fall and vibe into one word, but I feel like that's just going to give us our fall vibe, like sitting at home under blankets, maybe you have a candle lit, maybe you just took like a shower and you're trying to like relax, or you come home from a day of work and all you want to do is order takeout and sit on the couch or in your bed or somewhere and just binge watch some movies. I have some for you. I have some, maybe some cheesy ones, but they'll get you in the fall vibe. We have like spooky, not necessarily scary, but just, I don't know, I won't say good, we'll say decent. Some decent movies. Before we get into this, though, streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, anywhere you stream your podcast, or we are here on YouTube, Girls Gotta Talk Podcast. Join the fam, subscribe over there. But yeah, let's just get into this episode. I really wish my laptop would freaking work and connect so that I can just read it off of this. I feel like if I'm reading it on my phone while also trying to talk into my phone, it's just gonna sound weird. I don't necessarily know how to hold my phone to record into it anyways, so I always, in editing, I'm like, ooh, like that sounds kind of rough, but I'm trying to figure it all out. Yeah, it's just not working. That's so tough. But the first movie that I have is classic Hocus Pocus. I don't necessarily know what it is exactly. Living in Connecticut, I don't live that far from Massachusetts, so I've always actually wanted to visit Salem, Massachusetts, which is where the movie is supposed to be, like, based out of. I actually don't know if it was filmed in Massachusetts or if they're just supposed to be, like, this is where we want this to kind of represent, almost, if I'm being honest. But I did find, like, synopsis type of things for each movie that I have. So I am gonna read those as well. I mean, for maybe some people that possibly live under a rock, I'm pretty sure, I would hope all of you have seen Hocus Pocus at least once, but if you haven't, for whatever reason, so the synopsis for the movie is, or it says, after moving to Salem, Massachusetts, teenager Max Dennison explores an abandoned house with his sister Danny and their new friend Allison. After dismissing a story Allison tells as superstitious, Max accidentally frees 3 evil witches, which is Winifred, Sarah, and Mary are the names of the 3 witches who used to live in the house. Now, with the help of a magical cat, the kids must steal the witch's book of spells to stop them from becoming immortal. I don't know what else to say except for the fact of, if you haven't seen Hocus Pocus for, like I said, whatever reason, I highly suggest watching it. It is such a good movie. It's such a classic. This is when you know you're getting into fall because, personally, I don't have cable. I use a lot of streaming platforms, but if you have cable, I know when growing up at my parents' house, when we used to have cable and, like, a cable box and, like, all that stuff, it would be playing every single night, like every single day at some point, if not like twice. It'd be on like once in the morning or like early afternoon, and it would be on at like 8-9 o'clock at night. You could find it on TV, I guarantee you, at least once every single day, probably starting now until at least Halloween, if not like maybe a few days after, like into November. But Halloween, Hocus Pocus is just classic. Like, you can't go through a fall season without watching it at least once, if I'm being honest with you. It's just one of those movies that you just have to see. You just have to sit and watch. They did recently, I probably should have looked it up as to when. It had to be like a year or 2 ago. I don't think it's been that long. They did a Hocus Pocus 2. That one, I'll be honest, if you haven't seen Hocus Pocus 2, you're really not missing much. I had a lot of hype and hope for Hocus Pocus 2 because of the fact that, like, Hocus Pocus, the first one, is just, like, iconic. I did not like Hocus Pocus 2. I watched it, and, like, during part of it, I was like, I don't even want to watch this anymore. Like, I'm really not into it. I thought this was gonna be so much better, like, all this stuff. But I don't know, like, it was just not it for me, if I'm being honest. The synopsis for that was, 3 young women accidentally bring back the Sanderson sisters to modern-day Salem and must figure out how to stop the child-hungry witches from wreaking havoc on the world. I can't even explain much of Hocus Pocus 2 because I don't necessarily remember it too much. Like I said, I've only seen it once, and I was not a fan, so it was not a movie I was like, oh my god, like, I have to watch this again. Like, I've seen it once, and that was kind of enough for me. I would highly suggest watching the first one if you're gonna watch them at all. I would say see the second one just to see it, but I don't know, like, I had so much hype for it. I was so excited when they announced they were making a second one. I was like, this is gonna be the greatest movie ever. It's gonna be the best thing to come to, like, any streaming platform or, like, TV or anything, because it's Hocus Pocus. Like, you can't just not like Hocus Pocus. That's kind of crazy. But here we are not liking the second one, but I mean, not all, I don't even want to say sequels, but, like, not all second movies are the greatest, but this one, I don't know. Like, I don't know what they did, but I had a lot of hope for it, and it was kind of disappointing, if I have to be completely honest. But the next thing, I don't even want to say thing, the next movies that I have are the Halloween Town movies. This is kind of the same, but different. I don't know how to explain it. All of the Halloween Town movies I love. I know there's 4 of them. I haven't fully seen the 4th one. I think I've seen bits and pieces, but I haven't fully seen the whole thing. I've only seen the 3rd one, like, 2 or 3 times. If that, probably, like, 1 or 2 times. The second one I've seen a handful. Again, it's one of those where I'll, like, catch bits and pieces. I'll just kind of have it on as, like, a background thing. But the first one, I think I've seen, like, religiously. At least. Honestly, probably, like, 50 times every time it's, like, fall. I know it's on Disney Plus, so, like I said, I stream a lot of my things. I don't have cable or anything. So I will have it on Disney Plus all the time. I haven't watched it yet. So starting maybe tonight when I go to bed, I'll, like, put it on or something as, like, my fall asleep situation. But this is a series where, like, you have to watch at least the first one at least once during the fall season. I would say definitely watch all of them. I have to get myself onto the last one. I want to watch it, like, fully. But Halloween Town is just another iconic fall vibe, I don't know, like, you just have to watch it. It might be one of the ones that are, like, a little bit cheesy, and, like, you could probably find something, dare I say, better, but it's just something you have to watch. Like, I don't know what it is about it. You just have to watch it. Like, it just has to be one of those movies you watch every year. Like I said, I know there's 4 different ones in the Halloween Town series. I don't know if it's, like, I don't know if I want to say series, but the first one is my all-time favorite. The first one, synopsis for that is, if you haven't seen any of them, hopefully this will give you, like, a little insight of, like, what happens. Marnie and her kids get a big shock when they... What? I took, like, a big pause. I'm reading this now. I low-key, like, copied and pasted these synopses from Google, but I'm pretty sure Marnie is, like, one of the kids, so it says her kids. But I don't remember, now that I'm like thinking about it, I don't remember the mom's name. So basically, these three kids, there's 2 girls and a boy, their brother, sister, they get a big shock when they follow their grandma home to Halloween Town. Basically, their grandmother like shows up at their house the night of Halloween, and when she goes to leave, she goes and like catches this bus that honestly comes up out of nowhere. But like her grandkids are always like, you only come around once a year, like we only see you around Halloween, why can't we go to your house, like why do we never see grandma more, like that type of situation. So it says they get a big shock when they follow grandma home to Halloween Town and find out they come from a family of witches. The town is the only place where supernatural beings can lead a normal life, but trouble is looming, and on her 13th birthday, Marnie not only finds she's a witch, but she and her family are involved in a fight against the evil threat that is taking over the world. I probably should have read these synopses before I like put them into my notes, because like if you're probably like, wait, what? To everything I just said. So basically, these grandkids follow their grandmother back home to a place called Halloween Town, which they think is like some fake place and it's only in stories type of situation. And then listening to, Marnie overhears her mom and her grandmother have a conversation, and she finds out she's a witch and has all these powers and stuff that she had no idea about, and she wants to like learn more about it, and she's kind of like coming into the realization that's why she loves Halloween so much and blah blah blah. So they follow her, and then they end up at Halloween Town and find like all these characters, and what they would think is like a fake place ends up being real. And then I think it's the first one where the grandmother and the mom get like frozen in time almost, and Marnie has to go with her brother and sister and find like this spell and these things to put all together and I don't want to say bring her mom and grandmother back to life, but like kind of back to life because they're like frozen in time. I don't know, like now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just something you have to watch. It's something you have to sit and go through at least once. It's good. I promise you, like, it might be a little cheesy, but it's good. It's decent if I have to like keep coming up with a word. The second one, like I said, I've watched a handful of times. It's not awful. I do prefer the first over all of them, but the second one is Grandmother Aggie sweeps Marnie and Sophie off to Halloween Town to investigate a series of strange occurrences. When they arrive, the vibrant community seems to have lost its magic. It isn't long before Aggie discovers that her spellbook is stolen, and the trio must find it. They discover that an angry warlock has taken the book and plans to permanently turn every human into whatever costume they're wearing on Halloween. So basically, this one was, they have like a Halloween party at their house, at Marnie's house. I'm pretty sure this is the second one. They eventually all just kind of start to blend into each other when you've seen them like so many times for some reason. I don't know why, like I always have to make sure I'm thinking of the right movie. But they have a Halloween party at their house. She meets this boy that she thinks is really cute, and she shows him her grandmother's like secret, basically a secret room that she hides like all her like stuff in there. And the boy shrinks, like uses his powers that Marnie doesn't know he has, shrinks her spell book and steals it. And then they start to realize that they're trying to like take all the fun and everything out of Halloween Town, and Marnie and her grandmother and her sister have to try to save Halloween Town. Yeah, I think that's basically like the synopsis of that one. The third one is kind of like when you watch it, you realize that, like, the characters get older, so it seems like a big jump in, like, the movies. At this point, I think Marnie and her brother, Dylan, which I think is younger than Marnie, but they're both in high school. When in the first one especially, and then in the second one, they're not that old, but they're still, like, on the younger side. This one, it's directed in high school. And that one is basically Marnie tries to organize this, I don't know what they want to call it, like a student exchange almost, and she takes the, like, her mortal school almost from, like, a Halloween Town type vibe, and makes this, like, exchange program into her, like, high school that she goes to now, and tries to, like, blend it all. So, like, they're not like the creatures and characters in Halloween Town. They look more like actual human beings, if so to speak. So they bring her to her high school. The students participate in the program are, like, witches, warlocks, trolls, like, those type of things. But like I said, they make it look like they're, like, actual students. And I know at one point they go to, like, I don't know if something happened in Halloween Town where they had to be coming to Marnie's school or whatnot, but I know they go to, like, a mall and try to just blend in and act like regular people, but something happens and they get, like, exposed almost and, like, turned back into, like, the trolls and witches and everything they are, and everyone's like, oh my god, like, what is going on type of situation. But I honestly don't really know much about this one because of the fact that I've only seen it a handful of times. But again, it's still, like, a fall Halloween, obviously, like, it's based around Halloween vibe that you just have to watch. The fourth one I've barely seen at all, so I don't really know what happens. I know at this point it's another jump and Marnie's now in college. Marnie arrives at Halloween Town University, known to everyone as Witch U. Her best friend, Anissa, I don't even know how to pronounce her name because I've never really seen the movie, is a student there too. And before you can say, it says abracadabra, the bewitching pair find themselves in magical mischief and mayhem. I don't quite know what the mischief and mayhem is per se, because I don't know the basis of this story. I don't know this movie. I think I've seen bits and pieces, maybe twice, but nothing fully to, like, let you know what's going on in this. But I highly recommend watching at least the first one. You have to watch the first one this fall. I can't even try to say to watch all of them because clearly I haven't, but the Halloween Town, the first one, is just, it's just iconic. It's just like Hocus Pocus. You can't not like it, if I'm being honest. Like, if you don't like it, like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just one of those things you have to watch. The next two movies that I have are kind of on the cheesier side, and these are ones I would kind of understand if people were like, I don't like these, because I'm not gonna lie, they're not the best movies, but they're just Halloween basis to where they're gonna show up on, like, Disney Channel if you have cable, probably. Actually, I don't know, because I haven't had cable in so long that I don't know if they still, like, air on Disney Channel, but they were on Disney Channel all the time when I was growing up, so that's what makes it, like, kind of nostalgic for me, was Twitches, and then they made Twitches 2. They're both Halloween basis movies. They're with Tia and Tamara Mowry, I think is pronounced their last name, the twins in, like, Sister. That's, like, the show I grew up on watching them. I know they're in different movies and things individually, but I feel like growing up I always just watched them together. So I loved Sister growing up, and Twitches was always, like, I always wanted to watch that one. Twitches 2 I haven't seen as many times, but Twitches is, like, another nostalgic classic for me. Basically, They're twin sisters. They're named Alex and Cameron. I don't know which one's which, like Tia, Tamara. Like, I don't know which character is which. I can't tell them apart like that. I'm not that familiar with them. But they reunite. They were separated at birth. No, they knew nothing about each other. They had two different families. I think Cameron lives with her, like, adoptive parents. Alex, I think her parents died, or her mom died or something, and she lived with, like, a friend or, like, some relative, someone really close to her. I don't know exactly her whole story, but basically the twins were reunited on their 21st birthday, and they used their magic powers to save their kingdom from the forces of darkness. I know their birth mom lives in this castle. I forget like what they call it, like Coventry or something like that. But I guess something happened with their father who had passed away, and I think their father's brother is like some evil darkness situation that tries to like take over the kingdom and everything, and I don't know. It's a crazy, weird story, but like the movies, low-key, like, it's not awful. We're gonna go back to decent if I had to explain it. But I don't know, it's just one of those things that, like, again, you just have to watch. Twitches 2 is kind of same thing. They're known each other for a while now, so they didn't meet until they were 21, but their combined power managed to save their home from the forces of darkness. Since then, they've been working together to strengthen their powers. They realize they have powers when they're connected. And they learn, like, these spells, or I think they're spells for, like, different things. I know they go through, like, training classes and, like, all this stuff to just basically see where they grew up and, like, what their parents grew up, I don't want to say doing. I don't know how to explain it. But I highly recommend watching these movies if you're still trying to get into the Halloween fall vibes. The next movie that I had, honestly, this is like one I kind of found on the internet. I know I've watched the first one, like, I would say a handful of times. I've never seen any of the other ones. I don't even know how many there are, to be honest. I don't know the whole story. I don't know anything besides the first movie, Twilight. And I know it's either a hit or miss. You either like Twilight or you don't. I'm not going to say I sit here and love it, but I know Twilight became, like, a big thing. Like, everyone loved the movies. Everyone loved the books. Like, if you read it, you had to, like, they were massive books. Like, they weren't just, like, little short 200 page. Like, I'm pretty sure the books were, like, hundreds of pages. Like, huge books. But basically what started it, high school student Bella Swan, I think she moved from her mom to her dad's. I don't know what happened where she, like, had to move, but she was always a bit of a misfit, didn't expect life to change much from when she moved from sunny Arizona, which is where I think her mom was from, to rainy Washington State, which she moved with her dad, who was, like, a cop for the state or something like that, or some type of head office. I don't know. He just worked for the police. Then she meets Edward Cullen, a handsome but mysterious teen whose eyes seem to peer directly into her soul. Wow, this synopsis gets kind of deep. Edward is a vampire whose family does not drink blood, and Bella, far from being frightened, enters into a dangerous romance with her immortal soulmate. I know they end up, like, together and, like, dating, and she finds out he's a vampire. She said she's not scared of him. Yada yada. She meets, like, the family, like, all that stuff. I know later in whatever series, I don't even know which one it is, they end up having a baby, I'm pretty sure. Maybe? Question mark? I don't really know. I'm pretty sure they have a child. I know she has to choose. This is a whole, like, Edward or I don't know his name. I don't know his name in the movie. Taylor Lautner. I don't know his name in the movie. I forget. But I know she has to, like, pick between them because I don't know if she had, like, feelings or something for whatever Taylor's character is, but I know she had to, like, pick between the two and ended up with, like, Edward or something. I don't know how many movies there actually are. I want to say there has to be, like, 4 or 5, if I'm being honest, but I've only seen the first Twilight, and granted, it's not the greatest show, but obviously it just gives, like, fall vibes. I think it happens around the fall. Not necessarily Halloween? Another question mark? I don't really know. But, yeah, I still think Twilight's kind of like a classic. I don't want to say nostalgic, but I feel like everyone has seen Twilight at least once. I've never seen any of the other movies, so I can't say you have to see all of them because I haven't even gotten that far with myself. But the next and last movie honestly isn't even Halloween at all, I don't think. It just kind of happens around the beginning of school, so that kind of gives me fall vibes, if that makes sense. I know fall just started and we're, like, halfway through, like, the first month of school. But this movie, when I Googled, like, fall movies on the internet, this movie, it was actually in a list, and I actually love this movie. I loved this movie growing up. I loved the book. I used to read the book all the time growing up. I've read it, like, honestly, I would say, like, I don't think I want to say, like, 5th and 6th. I'd honestly say maybe middle school. No, definitely 5th and 6th, maybe into middle school. I read it at least once, like, every year. I loved the book growing up. Maybe even starting in elementary school. Elementary school till, like, 6th grade, maybe. Loved the book. Loved it so much. I love the movie. I had it on DVD. Like, I don't know what it was about this movie, but it was definitely one of my favorite movies. And that's Matilda. I don't know how popular Matilda was or got, if I'm being honest, so I don't even know if everyone's, like, seen it. Basically, I think it's based on the book, and then they made it into a film, and it tells the story of this little girl. Her name was Matilda Wormwood, was her name. A gifted girl forced to put up with a crude, distant mother and father. Agatha Trunchbull is an evil principal at Matilda's school. And basically she's like a bully. Like, she's a teacher version of a bully, which is kind of crazy. She's like the principal of the school, but when Matilda realizes she has the power of telekinesis, she begins to defend her friends from Trunchbull's wrath and fight back against her unkind parents. So basically, her parents don't know that she has these powers of sorts, and she uses them, honestly, almost to her advantage, to, like, pull pranks and all these stuff against her parents and the principal because she just doesn't like them, and they'd always been rude to her growing up, so she kind of gets revenge, almost. When she is in school, she has this wonderful teacher that she loves. Her name is Miss Honey. She does find out that the Trunchbull, like, the principal, is Miss Honey's aunt. I think it was, like, her dad's sister. And her father passed away, and so Miss Trunchbull ended up being in charge, and, like, in charge of Miss Honey growing up. And when Matilda learns that, like, she tries to help Miss Honey get back, like, some childhood things, or, like, she tries to get her house back that she grew up in. This old, like, doll that she loved that's in the house that she, like, refuses to go and get because she doesn't want to live with Miss Trunchbull anymore. It's just, like, a crazy movie. I'm not gonna lie, like, when I first started watching it growing up, like, I was kind of scared because it's just a crazy movie to watch when you're kind of young, but at the same time, like, I loved it. The movie and the book, from what I remember, are very, very similar. There might be, like, some things where you're just like, oh, that didn't happen in the movie. But I loved both growing up, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't know what it was about this. I don't know how popular Matilda was, movie-wise. But I highly recommend watching Matilda if you haven't yet. I highly recommend watching any of these movies if you haven't yet. Obviously, if I'm being honest, I don't think I'll ever watch any of the Twilight movies. Halloween Town, I highly suggest. I do want to start watching all of them this year. Maybe I'll get into them a little more. Twitches, Hocus Pocus. I would recommend watching Hocus Pocus 2. It wasn't the greatest, but there's probably worse, if you know what I'm saying. Like, it's not going to be, like, your favorite movie. Unless you like it, props to you. It wasn't my personal favorite. I had, like I said, a lot of hope and a lot of hype for it. And I feel like by the time they announced that it was coming out and by the time it came out, like, it was so long that you just were impatiently waiting at that point. And for it to come out and not be, for me, one of the greatest movies, I was highly disappointed and very, very upset. But I know there's other, like, fall-type movies that you have to watch during Halloween time. Like, I know, like, Scream, I think it's called. There's, like, 3 or 4 of them, I'd have to say. I know those are probably really popular. They're, like, comedy-type shows, so they're not actually too scary. Like, it might seem a little scary, and then they go into, like, comedy. I know I've seen the first one, maybe, like, a few times. I don't necessarily know how many there are. I haven't seen all of them. But those are, like, movies you'd want to see because they're almost, like, scary-based, if that makes sense. Like, fall Halloween vibes. I know isn't there, like, a scary Halloween movie, like, called, like, Halloween or something like that? I don't know. I am a fan of, like, scary movies, but at the same time, like, I also become a big baby. And, like, I'll watch part of the movie and either hide, like, under a blanket or, like, I'll turn it off and be like, yeah, I'll finish this later. Never actually finish it, but say that I will. I know I watched, like, Paranormal Activity type. I don't know if you want to call those a movie. And part of it, I was like, dude, like, those are so fake. And part of me were like, dude, what the heck just happened in that? Paranormal Activity is kind of, like, a different type of, like, watch, I would say. Like, those are scary and, like, definitely spooky vibes, but they're not for everyone, if I'm being honest. I was kind of scared watching them, not gonna lie, but I know there's, like, different stuff like that you just want to watch around this time of year, but there's also those cheesy, iconic, nostalgic movies out there as well, so I highly recommend, now that we're in the start of fall, to start it now. Watch them for the next couple months. I would say the rest of September. We have all of October. I would honestly say until, like, Thanksgiving, because I feel like for me, after Thanksgiving is Christmas time, so we still have, like, 2 more months we could watch all these movies for, and I'm super excited. Fall is my favorite season, so I'm so excited that we're in full effect with it now, because by calendar, it is officially fall season. But with that being said, that is all I have for this episode. I hope you guys watch these movies. Just know that you're watching it along with me, because I will be watching them all the time. I hope you guys enjoy your fall. I don't necessarily know if all of you get a fall season. I know if you live, like, out west, per se, it's probably not the fallest of fall. Same with, like, down south. But I'm hoping you guys get a little glimpse of fall wherever you live. I love you guys so, so, so much. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you next week back with a brand new episode. Bye.